The speeds will be a little bit slower, which then will allow us to be more spread out, obviously, through the corners as well too.
Is it the sort of thing where you kind of have to
Yeah, I love cars.
evaluate on a race-by-race basis? Well, this is working, this isn't working, and then kind of change things as you go along?
Yeah, I mean, the owners don't like change, and I don't think all of us like change either. You know, when you go into a different racetrack every single week, you understand and know how to drive those racetracks based off of the feeling that you're getting from other racetracks. And so if you have a different aero package for every single racetrack you go to, which probably would be the best thing for every track to have its own aero package, because every track is so different from every other one. You follow, like, California is nothing like Atlanta, which is nothing like Las Vegas, which is nothing like Chicago. So there could be differences in the cars that would make them racier at each of those venues.
I have a question for you on the aero package. You've had two diametrically opposite points of view when you made your comments after Vegas, the testing, and then you made your comments at Atlanta. If given your preference, would you rather have the partial package ran or the complete package ran moving forward?
Well, what are my differences in comments?
The Vegas test was you've taken the skill away from the driver comment.
Yep.
And after Atlanta, you said the traffic was really bad aero-wise. When you got behind somebody, they take your aero away and your jump.
Yeah. Okay. Those aren't necessarily differences. The fact of the matter is when you're by yourself and you're alone and you're doing qualifying runs or whatever, the cars are easier to drive. You know, you can run it at Las Vegas Motor Speedway wide open by yourself, but when you get into the pack and when you get into racing, the draft and the effect that the draft has, and the gamesmanship that's going to be played now is entirely different than what it used to be. I don't think it's always going to be the fastest car wins the race. It's going to be sometimes the smartest driver, the best pit crew, the guy who gets out front first. Because as we saw last week, I think Martin Truex Jr. was a little bit faster and then caught Brad Keselowski, but couldn't make a maneuver in order to get by him and was just kind of stuck there because the air from the front car manipulates the car behind it way too much.
How well do you know this track?
I know this track very well. I've been here. Well, I practiced on this racetrack when I was 16, but I've been racing here since I was 18. So, you know, I'm now 33, so I guess do the math. That's a long time.
And the way the track has changed. You talked about it being a worn track, and I remember all the comments and all the complaints from drivers early on that it's boring racing and it's too
I don't think the drivers would ever have said that.
There are a couple that...
It is a big racetrack, and it is a very wide racetrack. You tend to get spread out here sometimes, but I still feel as though it's one of the more entertaining racetracks we have because you can race from bottom all the way to top. And you know, if you repave this place, we'd all be running around the bottom in single file line, or you know, too wide. It might even be with the plate package and the downforce package that we have on the cars coming this year. It would be like a restrictor plate race basically coming back here. So you know, it would look a lot like Daytona or Talladega.
Kyle, question. So overall, as many times as you've been here, what do you mostly concentrate on most? Because like I said, we talk about the track, talk about the car. What difference? I mean, what changes? What is the most you concentrate on to overcome those changes?
Yeah, I mean, when you come back here, you're going to focus on all the same things that you've always focused on. You know, typically we would always practice and qualify single car action. I think though this time you're going to want to get out there with other cars, and you're always going to want to be around somebody because you're going to go faster if you're not going to go faster if you're side by side, but you're going to go faster if you're front and back with one another and being able to have a bit of a draft. Two cars are always faster than one, three probably faster than two, and so on.
Right, so this makes into your race mode than any difference.
Yeah, it's, again, when you get back out there on the track and you've got to set up your car, you're going to be working on whether it's loose or whether it's tight. You're going to work on how well it drafts up to the other cars around you and how much those other cars manipulate your car and trying to reduce all of those effects.
Kyle, talk about how the fans are here in the Inland Empire, particularly here at Monaco Speedway.
I think NASCAR fans are the best in all of sports. You know, we've got some of the best people, some of the most loyal and fan passionate people that there are out there. You know, they can be loyal to a driver or a sponsor or a manufacturer or whatever it might be. You know, so it's very interesting with the different dynamic that you have of race fans that come to the track each and every week, whether you're in California or Phoenix or out on the East Coast, you know, Charlotte or Arlington.
Thank you.
You have some heavy competition with this next race?
Absolutely. Every week, you know, there was a bit of a shock, I'd say, last week. We saw some of the guys that we knew would run up front, like Martin Truex Jr., myself a little bit, and Kevin Harvick as well too. You know, the big three from last year all ran up front last week, but then you saw Brad Keselowski kind of sneak in there and get the victory, even though he may not have had the fastest car. So I think that you know, every week it's a tale to be told, and we got to watch and find out.
A question for you too on making your 501st start this weekend, right?
Yes.
If you could go back in time and Kyle Busch now could tell Kyle Busch making his very first start one thing, what would it be?
There's way too many things. You know, I think the biggest thing that I've learned over the course of the last few years is patience. And sometimes when I was a younger driver, I pushed really, really hard, and that's what made me good, and that's what I feel like got me there. But then there were the times where you push too hard and you end up crashed, you know. So you've got to be smart. There's obviously a patience level to racing that, you know, you've got to, I call it working your craft and making it to where you're one of the best, and not a guy that's balls to the wall all the time.
Question, Kyle. What difference have you seen now with one less crew member over the wall now on your pit stops?
Yeah, last year we had that, and it's a bit slower, and it's a lot harder on the crew guys, I feel like, too, because they've got a lot more going on, in which it was already a tight space. When you've got 40 guys coming down pit road, even if there's lap cars, there's 30 guys coming down pit road, and pit road can get pretty anxious at times. And last week I saw a few anxious moments as well, too. I think actually one of the crew members got hurt and had to go to the infield care center. So, you know, it's about trying to take guys away from that side of the pit wall out on pit road, but I think there comes a safety factor there sometimes that, you know, not having enough guys can lead to confusion and mistakes and guys in places they don't need to be.
Well, what are your thoughts on that? Because that was brought up this morning about how all the cars are racing closer together, so they're entering pit road all together. Not as many cars are going a lap down, maybe because of the new package, that maybe pit road needs to be made wider.
Every track's different. There's no way you're going to make pit road at Martinsville any wider. It is what it is, you know. So, you know, there's certain avenues where we've been on pit road plenty of times. Us race car drivers know what we're doing. Maybe it'll clean itself up with more reps that we all get coming down pit road with one another.
Are you tired of answering questions about Richard Petty and the 200 wins?
Not at all. I just don't think they correlate. You know, I think it's cool. It's a number. You know, whether people want to discredit my fact that my wins are across 3 series versus his being in 1 series, I don't think that's not at all what, when I threw that number out, that I was going to achieve or wanting to top. I didn't want to top Richard Petty. It was just a number that I thought would be cool to reach if I could reach it. I don't know if anybody else will be able to get there years down the road, so we'll play it like that.
And racing in the Xfinity and in the truck series, what? I guess first question is what you get out of it, and the second question is what do your crews and the other drivers in those series get out of having you out there competing?
Well, they're feeder series, and so the truck series is a feeder program for Joe Gibbs Racing for the Xfinity program or the Cup program. I've actually had 14 guys that have come from Kyle Busch Motorsports that now work at Joe Gibbs Racing or other Cup teams for that fact, as well as drivers. You look at the drivers that we've been able to produce out of Kyle Busch Motorsports. So if you're asking about me racing in those divisions, why do I do it? It's because I like to be able to get out there and continue to feel out and dissect where our company is, Kyle Busch Motorsports, and where our trucks are and how competitive they are, to give a parameter or a line to where our other drivers are competing. If they're finishing 5th to 10th every week and I can go out there and win by 7 seconds, then they're not reaching the potential that they should be reaching. And I think that that's kind of an eye-opener for our guys sometimes.
And how much do you work with those guys or consult or what have you during the week, in the garage, what have you?
Anytime they want, anytime they come and ask me questions, I'm an open book. I talk to them. Certainly they'll probably get about 70% of what I know. You know, once they start beating me, then they get 0.
There you go.
But you know, with our team meetings, we have team meetings every Monday after those races, and so I'm always at the shop. I'm talking to those guys, and I'm able to debrief with them and help them out. We go over race film and kind of watch different things that happen during the race and how they can attack certain situations a bit differently, or to just kind of open up their mindset to trying new things.
You talk about race film. Are there things that have changed in terms of analytics or evaluation tools to kind of help you along?
There's a lot of different things now than what there used to be. You used to just, if you wanted to watch a race replay, then you did, but I think nowadays you kind of have to. A lot of guys are watching other sorts of film as well too, pit roads film, things like that. I know the guys that do the pit stops, they watch that stuff all the time and figure out how to clean up their act and how to get better and faster. And that's the same thing with drivers. You know, we've got to do those same sorts of things, and you can learn from watching the races and what you do, and then you can watch what others are doing, and just kind of, again, you know, fine tune your craft.
One more thing.